I don't know if you've noticed this as well, but everything is hard. Training for a marathon is hard. Keeping a consistent gym routine is hard. Keeping consistent with your nutrition is really hard. But what is also super hard is not living up to your potential, and also being aware that you're not living up to your potential. Like, that is its own kind of hard. And that was definitely a point where I was at for a big chunk of last year and the beginning of this year. I just thought, no, I need to make changes, and discipline has been a big part of that. And the reason I wanted to make this video is because I feel like we've all listened to those motivational things that tell you you should just start today, David Goggins style discipline.
You don't want to make your bed, you make your bed. You don't want to clean your house, you clean your house.
We have had it on in the background, and don't get me wrong, I feel like things like that have definitely helped me over the years, definitely things that I've implemented. But I really remember a time back in February when I put on something like that when I'd got to the gym and I couldn't be bothered training, and it didn't help in the slightest bit. If anything, it just made me feel worse. I just couldn't listen to it for any longer. I feel like discipline is one of those things that has got kind of somewhat negative connotations. I don't see discipline as something that should be making you feel like you need to be robotic. Welcome back to episode 6 of this Reinvention Diaries. Today's one is all around discipline, and I feel like this is a real strong pillar for any reinvention journey, especially around fitness and nutrition. Has been an area that I've kind of struggled with forever. I remember when I first started out in the gym, I'd find it really hard to keep a consistent time that I train, as in going to the gym at the same time each day. I really struggled with mornings, and it's still something that crops up now. Like, you know, some people just are morning people and they kind of keep that consistent what looks like their whole life. I know I'm a morning person because I love the first hour of the day, but if I have a few late nights, like, it just throws my whole schedule off. Like, even to this day is something that I have to really be disciplined with. It was never actually like the motivation to get to the gym that I found difficult. When I knew for a while I was just putting other things above my health, above my fitness journey. Like, I was putting other things in the wrong prioritized order, shall we say. So I've broken this down into 9 steps. We'll get into the first one, which is discomfort as the catalyst for change. The first word that comes to my head right now, which is a real funny one, is slug. I don't know why that is at the forefront of my mind, but I felt like a slug. I was so stuck. Everything felt slow, as in for a big chunk of time and part of my life I just felt like this like slug trying to get by. I was so uncomfortable, and it wasn't just days, like it kept building, and I just felt like life just wasn't going the way I wanted it to. This was all my doing, as in like I'd made the choices, I'd made the steps, and like laid my bed and was literally lying in it even though I knew it wasn't right. You kind of know yourself when you are doing sabotaging things. Like, I knew I did not need the chocolate mug cakes every single night that I was having. I wasn't addressing that. I didn't have any accountability with my nutrition. I'd kind of start tracking my macros again, but I was doing it so loosely. I'd track my breakfast and lunch, and then I wouldn't continue tracking. I just kind of used the same macros that I'd used for however long before, just kind of continued working with the broken system rather than addressing the system, which kept me so stuck. And it is only usually when we get to the point where we're so uncomfortable, which is exactly where I kind of got to, which is so frustrating, isn't it? When the discomfort of staying the same is that uncomfortable, that is the point of change, which I feel like it takes for a lot of us to get to. But if you can stop yourself in your tracks, like right now, right here, where you are, like meet yourself where you're at, doesn't matter, like don't judge yourself, and just say, right, this is the point where I'm going to change. Like, I don't want to be in the same position in 3-6 months time. I think it's been a solid year where I just wasn't happy. I was in the same position, if not worse, than I was like that previous year. And also being on the gym floor, crying into the leg press, trying all these motivational things, and just knowing that that wasn't the route. Like, no motivational podcast could have just saved me from that point. It only came from like my own knowing and just making that choice that like, right, I need to change. I can't keep repeating the same cycles that haven't worked. Second step is ignoring external noise. I really feel like I was allowing a lot of sugarcoating into my life and just a lot of fluff, and not being so connected to my deeper why, which I feel like made me more susceptible. So like, you're kind of more susceptible to just seeing what comes up on your TikTok, like what you shouldn't eat this week. There's so much noise on social media. It's a new thing each week, like what you should or shouldn't be eating, and it's really overwhelming.
Bread is bad for you, and here's why. I'm Dr. Zarowski, and
if you eat chicken every day, this is what will happen to your body.
Easy to get sucked into other people's BS, and there's a lot of dishonesty on social media, for sure. The body positivity movement has been a big thing over this past few years, and I feel like there's kind of shaming that has come off the back of that, and now people feel scared to even say that they wanted to say change their body, or scared to even admit they want to lose a little bit of fat. But then that creates dishonesty amongst a lot of other areas. Not all advice is good advice. It's important to know your body, come from a place of just understanding more. So rather than just taking the first thing you see on social media as 100% gospel, doing your own research, understanding why, understanding the basics of say fat loss or muscle gain before you set a goal or before you try and imitate what's working for someone else, because it's not going to necessarily always work for you. And I feel like this is something that will repeat and repeat until you kind of get to that point. So it's just a good shortcut to take, and it really helps with you just being able to then trust your own body and your own journey, and also be able to learn along the way. Third step is the myth of willpower alone. So willpower, similar to motivation, is so fleeting, isn't it? It just comes and goes, comes in waves. Some days you have loads of motivation and then other days you don't. And imagine if you were to rely on that totally, gosh, it'd be really hard to get anything done. And it's exactly why we need systems in place, accountability, which you've heard me say, and I will keep repeating because that is the only thing that's ever helped me to actually change and to have the structure in order to be able to achieve any fitness result, to keep anything consistent, because then you can actually grow. It'd be really hard if you were changing every variable each week. You wouldn't really see much progress, because in order to see progress, say in the gym, you need to be repeating the same movement patterns in order to stimulate that muscle over time enough to achieve any result, whether it be muscle gain, fat loss, or body recomposition. That's when you can build that really nice momentum kind of feeling, or things start really flowing. An example of this is having a structured program in place, invested in yourself financially. So if you were to get something for free, you're no doubt just going to think, oh, I'll put that off till next month, I've got it in the bank, and you'll probably never go back to it. You're actually right, I've invested, this is my hard-earned money that I've put into something, and you're much more likely to actually stick to it. And with following a program, you're creating that external accountability. So this is the exact reason why I created Flowness. This has been the biggest part of my journey, having that accountability each week when it's not comfortable to take a check-in photo and submit that, say, to someone else and to a group of other people, but you're creating that habit each week, and then you can actually look back in a couple of weeks time, and you're like, oh my gosh, my digestion's improved, or I've learned this about myself, or just one small tweak with getting more sleep has meant that I've managed to achieve this goal, or my skin's got better. And there's so many more variables. And especially if you're putting in the time already to, say, your workouts, you're dedicating time, and you're dedicating time in the kitchen, you're spending money on healthy food, and you haven't got that accountability, it's just a lot more challenging to actually see where you're growing. And for a long time, that is exactly where I kind of sat. I just kind of didn't want to commit to anything, because I thought, oh God, that's a big commitment to make. But it's the best one that you will ever make, because it's the commitment to your growth. Fourth step is visualizing your future you. Now, this is something that has just totally changed just how my mind thinks. It's proven basically. So I do my visualization a lot in my morning meditation, literally the 10-minute one that I do in the morning with my little mini crystal. I'll do different ones each day, but it's just connecting with your breath. And then a lot of the ones that I really like at the moment are around visualization. So just tapping into this higher version of yourself, you're sat with your eyes closed and you're just imagining the best version of yourself. And when you're tapping into not only those emotions but those thoughts, the more that you can connect with those, and sometimes when I do meditation they make me quite emotional, the more that you connect with those higher vibes and those sensations in your body, the easier they are to create in your day-to-day without you realizing. And especially things like gratitude, you could just be doing something like washing up in the sink, and you'll just think of something that, say, your friend has done for you or your partner's done for you, and you're just oh, it warms your heart kind of feeling. It's really similar, or how I see it a lot with meditation, you become more kind of accustomed, and those feelings, sensations become a lot more natural to you. So you day to day, you'll just find that you become a lot more of a positive version. Seeing this version of myself who was disciplined, as in she got up at the time she said she would, when she sets her alarm, she actually gets up for one. She is organized, she has boundaries, and she actually can say no to people. For so long I was such a people pleaser, and I just find it really difficult to let people down. Like I just end up going to places and doing things that like I knew I never really came away feeling that good from. And I'd go on like girls' holidays and I wouldn't do the things that I actually wanted to do. Like I wouldn't really work out. I'd probably just go out drinking more, and then I'd come back from the holiday feeling worse than when I went. In these visualizations and just seeing like this version of yourself, it just becomes a lot clearer on like what your why is. Because I think when people are like, oh, what is your why? It's a really overwhelming question. So it's not something that I feel like you're just going to know at the drop of a hat. It is through practices like meditation daily and journaling and just tapping into a bit of a deeper sense, which can feel a bit overwhelming at first, but it takes time, and with time this is what kind of comes with it. The stronger the emotion you feel during visualization, the more connected you become to that version of yourself. So you're essentially creating a memory of your future self, which I think is really cool. And then fifth thing is setting a clear, tangible goal and relentlessly actioning that thing. So I was running basically 20-30 kilometer runs for fun when I was in Dubai in the heat of Dubai summer, which I just can't get over. That was about a year or 2 years ago, and it was for a long time. Like that is just genuinely something I would do on a Saturday morning when Mason would go to his rugby practice. I would take myself off and I'd be running up and down the Palm with no goal in mind. I love that I've done that part of my life, but what I realised was the reason why I didn't actually set tangible goals was rooted in fear, which took me right back to childhood, to be honest. I was so bad at PE. I wasn't like super academic, should we say, in school, and I didn't find it easy to kind of show up for myself because I'd always be fearing of failing. And I didn't realise this is what was like holding me back for so long, was just the fear of kind of being seen for one. Just so interesting to kind of dive a little bit deeper into why you do certain things like that. I ran my first half marathon this year, then I did a marathon, and just like getting out of my way that way has helped me so much, and that has also given me so much structure. And I've realised that I thrive most when I have a clear structure, which I figured out with like my marathon training. It's been one of the most powerful parts of my life, and it's also connected to why I'm working towards my current goal, if I've not yet mentioned what I'm doing. Anything that challenges us just shows us so much about our personality, about who we are, and you just learn so much in your process, which is why I love fitness challenges and having these clear, tangible goals to work towards. And I also think this is where the mindset shift really does come in, because when you are working towards a goal, and for example in Flowness we're doing the Lean and Align challenge at the moment, and we're all working towards the same goal, as in we're here for these time frames. We've all got slightly different goals and we're at different points, but we have got that accountability and we're checking in each day. And I think once you've committed to something like with a group of people as well, you have got that essence of like you're in this together. On the days that you're having a moment where you're thinking, oh my god, like I can't face getting my steps today, or like I feel like skipping my workout, you're going into this group and seeing that someone else has not only felt the same, but also they've then showed up, and it just really fuels you to keep going, and also to realize that you're not in this on your own, because a lot of your fitness journey can feel so isolating and lonely, especially if a lot of your friends and family just are not fitnessy or gymmy whatsoever. And with the mindset shift, with this goal, is like just really imagining you achieving that goal. Like how is that going to make you feel? What is that actually going to look like? What's that day going to look like? And just having that vision really, really helps with being able to make it something you can achieve. I just think it makes things a hell of a lot easier. Then the sixth thing is breaking free from excuses and choosing your heart. So this is definitely perfectly timed after you've done some visualization and just got clearer on that why, and this part becomes easier because at this point like you've got your clear goal, and that is connected to your reason why you have got this vision in mind. Like I'd really recommend vision boarding as well. Like that has been such a powerful thing that I've done this year. At the beginning of the year, I've got my vision board, which I printed off pictures of like what is the essence of like who I want to be. And it's not just like getting the nice like aesthetic pictures off Pinterest, but like really thinking like even if it's a superhero character or just something that represents like how you want to feel, like what energy you want to bring, just make it as inspiring as possible and not limiting yourself, like not thinking, oh, that's a bit out of reach. That is the whole point of having a vision board. And with that, you just come with a lot more determination when you have got that visualization. And I just think it makes your intentions a lot more firm because you are clear, you've got that clarity around them, and starting to embody this person that you've got in the forefront of your mind. How can you start today after you've watched this video? Like what can you start with doing? And totally just wholeheartedly committing to that is definitely where the shift will be. And just always thinking like, oh, tonight what can I like help help my future self with. So one thing that I've changed is in my kitchen. So on a night and you're like, oh, I'll leave my dishes out until the morning, like just changing that, switching that little habit, thinking, would my highest version of myself, would she leave her dishes out to do in the morning when her alarm's going off at 6:30 and she doesn't want to get out of bed? Do you really think she's going to want to then put dirty dishes? So just flipping the switch in your mind, that has like totally unfolded. So like now I always go to bed with a tidier kitchen and it makes mornings easier, and you see how like things just quickly ripple like that. Another thing I've done only this year is prepping meals. Like, I don't know if I like the word meal prepping. When we think of meal prep, we sort of imagine like these broccoli chicken with no seasoning and just very bland meals, when meal prepping to me is just as in like prepping your meals for that day, or like even if it's just the afternoon. Like, I don't really prep a whole day's worth of meals because I'd probably eat them all in one. Like, I'm just not really used to doing that. But I'll prep, say if I'm out for the afternoon or the evening, I'll just prep for the time that I'm away, and like that saves so much time for one, and then you're not like mindlessly starving or hungry in an airport or at a service station just grabbing anything you can get because you haven't prepared, and just thinking a bit more ahead in advance. Like, that was one visualization that definitely came through to me that's helped a lot, and what is now like part of my routine. Like, if I'm ever traveling or if I've got a busier day, so much better. I feel much more fueled as well throughout those days that are busier. Seventh thing is overcoming self-sabotage and emotional eating. So a lot of this has just been around creating more awareness. Like, I've always been someone who would just kind of eat away at my meals, like as I'm making them, and then the amount of times I will sit at my dining room table and there won't be much on my plate because I've just snacked away, or like haven't even known what I've been putting in my mouth. And I think that kept me from a lot of my fitness goals, because I was tracking my meals but I wasn't really tracking the snacks to and from the cupboard throughout the day. Whenever I used to feel sad or stressed, like my response was always to go and eat my emotions, and like not really realise. So addressing that has been one of the most powerful shifts. Like I say, it goes back to that accountability point, because when you've got that accountability and you've invested in yourself, it just gives you that edge where you think, wait, I'm checking in with this person and this group of women. I don't want to be the person that's like not showing up for myself, or like I've randomly mindlessly ate. Like, it puts another sort of framework in your brain. The minute you just have the awareness first, like you stop the pattern, but you can quickly like build out of it. And with emotional eating, that is not an easy one. Like, I don't want to say that loosely, because that does take time. Like, this has taken me a really long time. I'm not going to sit here and say it's taken like a month. It really hasn't, and it's a continual work in progress. You're always working on yourself, and you should never come to that point where like, right, I'm done at this point and I've learned enough, I know enough about food and nutrition. Like, that is what is so humbling with fitness and nutrition. It is continuous learning, a learning process. And the 8th step is the role of nutrition in discipline. So this is another thing that can hold a lot of people back. Say if you're training for a marathon, for example, like you need to be eating a lot more than like an average person who might be going to the gym for 30 minutes a day. I think if you're eating out a lot and trying to like fuel your body, but say if you're only eating like 2 or 3 meals a day, there's no doubt that you're going to be very under fueled and not giving your body like the nutrients that it needs. 80-20 rule, amazing, and definitely something that is so useful and valuable. But I feel like people don't really talk about why your nutrition is super important. And of course, we all love processed foods every now and then, and like eating out should be a big part. Like, I'm not saying any lifestyle should be you just cooking from your kitchen 99% of the time, but it is important to have discipline and to make sure you know that you're getting enough of your macros and that you're being able to consistently hit a protein goal. And it makes it more challenging if you're eating out majority of most days. But yeah, that wraps up today's video. And I just wanted to say as well, discipline isn't about restriction. It's actually one of the most freeing things, because it gives you that clarity on more of your why behind things, and can just open up so many doors in different areas, and just really help with getting out of your own way. If you're finding you're procrastinating a lot, being stuck in your own head and not being able to get into action, and it really isn't something that's easy and is continuously tested, but this is where having those systems in place, having the processes and that accountability just makes things a hell of a lot easier. Exactly why I created my Flowness Club community, which is where I host all my workout programs. We're currently doing the Lean and Aligned 8-week challenge at the moment, which is a gym program. It's a 4-day gym split, 2 cardio sessions per week. I have a gym program and also a home program, and we do these daily acts of flowness, which is so powerful for creating that accountability. It's where we check in every single day. It's not super long and lengthy, but it's been really powerful. There's been a lot of mindset shifts over this past few weeks, and it's been really nice to build consistent habits, especially if you're someone who's struggled with actually keeping to workout programs. You've tried all the apps but never really kept anything consistent. This is exactly why Flowness is about creating your own flow workflow, which is going to look different to mine, different to yours, and I provide you with the step-by-step frameworks to do that. But I just want to say thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you, and I can't wait to see you in the next video.